thank you all of you for joining this webinar about process mining in purchase to pay. First of all, thank you for your interest and all your energy on the social media to express the importance of process mining in P2P. Today's webinar will be hosted by 3 people. The first person is Hugo Lepens. Hugo is a process intelligence consultant at iGrafx. Myself, Katarzyna Fontaine, I'm the regional director of OJC Finland. I'm also supporting the expansion of the company in the Nordics. I also act as the head of marketing, and I support the global team in partnerships. And we have also Christian Mark, who is the regional director at OJC Consulting in Germany. So here you see 2 companies, iGrafx and OJC Consulting. So we are partnering with iGrafx. OJC Consulting is partnering with iGrafx to deliver the best approach to your P2P solutions with the use of process mining. So finding actually what data shows to you in your P2P processes. And we can move forward. Yes. So today's agenda is as follows. We will explain a little bit about iGrafx and OJC Consulting. We will talk about the challenge that probably most of you know because you have subscribed to this webinar, so you are aware that purchase to pay is not always the easiest process in a company, or if it is, then you are really lucky, but there are a lot of bottlenecks there in the process. Invoices are stuck, purchase orders can be sometimes lost or just pending for approval. So we will discover these things. We will also look at the key metrics and also how process mining actually fits very well the purchase to pay world. Finally, Hugo will guide you through a case study, and we will all be there to answer your Q&As. So if you have questions, post them in the chat and we will try to answer them all. If not, we will then probably try to send a separate message to you after this webinar.
Thank you, Kazi. Yeah, so I will first start to present quickly iGrafx. So iGrafx is a software company specialized in process intelligence space. So we have built a platform called Process 360 Live. So today we will focus on the module process mining, but just for you to keep in mind that iGrafx can offer also a lot of different features. So the process repository, for example, it's a repository for which we can build all the different processes and add, if you want, for example, the resources, the IT system, or the requirement, the risk and assessment. So it's really, a common platform to help you to create the digital twin of your organization. So inside this repository, there is also some capabilities around the dashboarding and reporting capabilities. Also some review and approval cycles, so to be able to easy manage and to easy manage your processes, and to manage easily your audit also. We have recently launched our new process intelligence assistant, so-called Pay P2P, so for GenAI. And we have also process simulation module. So for this module, we can retrieve the data from the mining part and be able to play some different scenarios to find the best way to improve your process. So this is an overview of all the module and capabilities of iGrafx. This slide, just to show you that iGrafx has been recognized as a leader by the top analysts. So, for example, Gartner, Forrester, and Quadrant. So for Gartner, we can see that we are the only company recognized as customer choice, so with a high user interest and adoption. For Forrester, we have been recognized as a leader for process intelligence wave. And you can see the 11 criteria for which we received the highest possible ranking. So you can see, for example, improvement detection, process simulation, the metrics, but also some criteria like deployment or pricing, which are quite important when we deploy the solution for our customer. And finally, in Quadrant, so leader also in Quadrant, but now for digital twin of an organization. Christian, I will give you the end.
Thank you, Hugo. So for OJC, we are a consulting company with around 18 years of experience in the SRM sourcing and procurement market. And we already accompanied several large customers in their digital transformation. We provide business consulting, project management, and implementation projects, as you see, all over Western Europe, USA, and Canada. The headquarters is in France, in the very nice Brittany, and we are present in several other countries with around about 100 people. We already delivered more than 500 projects in the procurement area for more than 70 customers, mainly on the Evalua platform. All of our consultants are certified for the platform. Then the next slide, please. Here you can see our three brands, OJC Consulting, OJC Communication, and OJC Software. The Consulting brand takes care about the typical implementation project in procurement from begin to end of the project. So starting with analysis and design, business and data consulting, over the implementation with obviously project management. And if also needed, we can also deliver additional change management. The Communication brand helps with web and multimedia design. We can help with visual identity and graphic design and are also doing communication consulting. And finally, the Software brand is building some more complex web and mobile applications. We help with technological support and can deliver add-ons and tools. One of our most important tools is our automated testing platform, which is in use already at several customers for the automated tests with the Evalua solution. Now we come to Katie.
Yes, sorry, trying to unmute myself. So what are actually the biggest challenges in P2P? Probably most of you have been working closely with P2P processes. If not, you are probably, working in finance on procurement. So again, those are very clear for you. And what you actually want is when you buy a software, or if you don't have a software today that can support you on your P2P implementation, you would like to really understand what are the bottlenecks today in your process. So if we take the example of a software provider, you want to really understand whether what you have been actually buying as a process really makes sense and gets you return on investment. How to do this? There are various ways to do this. You can probably buy some work from consultants who will be interviewing people, will be trying to find out if the process is actually matching the current way of working. Oh yeah, you could actually use process mining to do this. So by using technology to extract the data and to see how long it takes to process a catalog request to and to make it become a purchase order to be sent to the suppliers, how long it takes your people to do goods receipt when they actually have received their items, and then finally how long it takes for the invoice itself to be processed. It seems to be very straightforward in theory. Most of you know that in practice, it is not always the case. There can be really bottlenecks, especially when the invoice is coming and there has been no purchase order. which is something very common in many companies. So the invoice comes in, because when the invoice comes in most countries, you just have to acknowledge it, and you just need to check if it's a valid invoice. If not, then you have to create a credit note. So this is also related to potential CSR things. With process mining, you can really also look at potentially reduce costs. So you need to understand that all those processes take time for your people. It can really take a few hours sometimes just to process an order and to get it paid overall in the whole life cycle. So by understanding the bottlenecks, you can ultimately reduce costs. Ensure compliance. Understand also really if, for example, the payment terms that you have been negotiating with your suppliers actually really appear on the invoice. Well, they should, you will tell me, if you have providers that you have put a solution in place where your suppliers are putting the payment terms on the upstream. It should flow towards the invoice ultimately. Well, it's not usually the case, and I would say it's not often the case. So really understanding, how much compliance you have in your whole process is important. So the P2P challenges are definitely the inefficient processes and long cycle times, the lack of process visibility, compliance issues, errors and exceptions in invoice processing, also supplier management issues, and that leads to high cost. Again, P2P, and mostly whether it's indirect or indirect procurement, is something that is ad hoc. I know in procurement, we don't like to hear it as procurement professional, but in fact, in your companies, what really matters is to sell, is to really get customers to buy your end products. And procurement is just, it is just, well, it's not just, but in fact, it just supports this function. So it has to be the most straightforward way to do it. It doesn't have to have bottlenecks, and your people need to focus on actually what really matters, and that is serving your customers. So we will today try to make you understand how process mining can really support you in driving those KPIs. Thank you. We can move forward to the next slide. Yes.
Okay, now to some general purchase to pay KPIs. The first time accuracy rate shows the percentage of POs or invoices which are processed correctly at the first time. If this one is high, there is no or low need for corrections, resulting in faster processing and lower administration costs. On the opposite, you see with the exception rate, the percentage of transactions which need manual intervention or are different from the normal processes. The lower this one is, the better and more streamlined is your purchasing process. The process compliance expresses how aligned your current purchasing process is in comparison to the design process. And with these gaps and inefficiencies can be identified in order to improve and standardize your process. The time taken between the PO and the receiving of goods or services is shown with the delivery time analysis. And this one helps identifying bottlenecks in the supply chain, and it provides insights for supplier negotiations. The procurement ROI, the return on invest, is the comparison of the generated value, like cost savings and the incurred costs, and helps to evaluate the overall effectiveness and the value of the procurement functions. The percentage of redone or corrected purchasing processes after the initial execution is shown with the next one, the rework rate. Here, if inefficiencies and errors in the process can be identified or are indicated, and areas for improvement can be found. Finally, on this slide, the supplier performance. This one is showing the reliability of deliveries, quality, costs, and responsiveness. And this one can be used to identify top performing suppliers and areas where suppliers need improvement. So the next one, please. Now here on this slide, we have 3 critical metrics or performance indicators. First, the purchase cycle time, where a long cycle indicates delays on several steps of the process. This one can be optimized by streamlining workflows, automating recurring tasks, and optimizing the performance of our suppliers. A high invoice processing time shows inefficiencies like slow approvals or mismatched invoices. Looking at this, we can reduce late payments with the corresponding penalties, respectively enable early payments on the opposite, and improve the relationship to the suppliers. And last but not least, the supplier lead time variability, which is highlighting unreliable suppliers or challenges in the logistics, which are disrupting the operations and are increasing the costs. And this can be handled by negotiation with the suppliers and identify more dependable suppliers in order to plan more accurately. And with this, I hand over to Hugo, which shows now how those metrics can be identified with the process mining tool.
Thanks. Yeah, so before to do the demo, just one slide to introduce the process mining for P2P. So process mining is really a data-driven approach. So the fact is we have to extract the log data from your IT system to be able to visualize, analyze, and optimize your business processes. So the benefit of this approach is really to have the real data and to know the real inefficiencies and the real bottlenecks in your business processes. And the benefit can be, of course, to increase the efficiency. So when we say efficiency, it can be the cycle times, but also saving some cost to be able to increase the compliance and, for example, to reduce the maverick buying. And it's really, data-driven decision making. So it will help ordering department and procurement department to take the right decision based on real data. So let's jump to the demo now. Okay, so what you see here, it's iGrafx process mining tool. So the first one is the dashboard part. So like a BI tool, with our process mining tool, we can of course create some specific widget and specific KPI to follow the different key metrics that we want to analyze inside our purchase to pay process. So on this one, I have put some of them. So on the top, 3 metrics regarding the lead time, so the cycle time to execute the end-to-end P2P process. So this first one represents the average lead time by week. The second one will do only a focus on purchase order for which the lead time is greater than 15 days, and we can analyze it by ordering department. And this one concerns all the PO for which the approval workflow takes more than 7 days. Here it's more related to the invoice. So later on the demonstration, we'll be able to analyze all the rework and, for example, the rework also for the payment, so what we call the duplicate payment, and we can see that it represents 100K loss for this company. Will be also the importance to pay our supplier on time, not too early. So too early it's compared to the due date, of course, and we will see that it can be a big working capital impact if we pay really our supplier too early. And this is the perfect PO rate, so the number of PO for which we do not need to do some rework or manual intervention. So just as an introduction, just to show you that with the tool, we can follow all the trend of specific metrics and KPI. Now, if I go to the analysis tab, so it's more focused on the mining side. So here, just to start, we currently analyze more than 27,000 different purchase order items. The average duration is 1 week and 5 days. We can see that the concurrency rate, it means the number of tasks executed in parallel, is really low for this process. And the rework rate also, it's low, but we will focus on it after. For this process, we can see that there is more than 600 different variants. It means more than 600 different ways to execute the end-to-end process. So if I show you the variant 1, so we can see the variant 1 is the most frequent path. So more than 21% of purchase orders follow exactly this step. So the first step is select supplier, then we create purchase requisition, then we create the PO, we send the PO to the supplier, we receive good, we check invoice, we pay the invoice, and then we clear the invoice. So it's just one way to execute the process. This is the most common path, but in total, there is a lot of different ways to execute this process. And with the process mining, we will have a look on all this way, and of course, we will detect inefficiencies and bottlenecks and how to improve them. So in addition to all this step, we can also import all the metrics and dimensions linked to this process. So for example, for this one, I have imported the automation rate. So to be able to see the automation rate of each activities, each variant, each task, and so on. The quantity order, the unit price, and the amount order for each purchase order. And if we have a look on the dimension, here, this is the ordering department. I have put also the entity, the country, the item type, and the supplier. So of course, it's just some data for a demo. So when we analyze P2P process for a customer, basically we import a lot of dimension, but just to give you an extract of that. So as I said previously, there is more than 600 different ways to execute the process. But when we have a look on the variant repartition, we can see that only the top 7 of variant has a high percentage of occurrence. So what we will do now, we will focus on this first 7 variants to be able to analyze the process. So with the tool, we can create some bookmarks. So here, this bookmark, I have just selected the first top 7 variant. So what we can do, so this first use case regarding the cycle time. So what we can do, we can analyze the average duration between each step. So in this case, I have put average, but of course, you can also select if you want a median, minimum, maximum, so whatever metrics you want. And you will be able also to see all the different steps and all the different links for this process. So for example, here you can see that after the creation of purchase requisition, you go through purchase requisition update, and you, instead of 2 days between the PREC and the PO, you have 1 week, for example. So you can follow quite easily all the processes and check all the variants with that. What we can do also is we can switch the metrics here from frequency to duration to be able to analyze the cycle time for each variant. So we can see that there is a lot of difference between variants. So for example, the variant 6 takes 2 weeks and 5 days, compared to the variant 7, only 1 week and 1 day. So what we can do by selecting a variant, we can have a look and check exactly which are the steps. So here we can see that this is the variant with purchase requisition update in this case. And we can see that this led to a really, and we pay late the supplier in addition. So what we can do to better analyze and better understand what happens, we can filter only on this variant. So you can see all the metrics has been updated. And then we can start to do root cause analysis or a deep dive analysis for this one. So for this specific issue, we can see that this is mainly the ordering department B, which is impacted by this kind of issue. So what we can do, we can click on it, filter on it, and continue to do a drill down. So for example, now we want to see which country is mainly impacted by this kind of issue. And we can see that this is mainly Sweden, for example. So with this kind of tool, what we can do is we can analyze and have a look globally to the end-to-end process, but we can also do some deep dive. And for this example, if we want to improve the cycle time of the process and reduce the number of purchase requisition updates, with a few clicks, we know that we have to focus on the ordering department B and the country Sweden, for example. So based on that, of course, we can directly go to the case explorer and see which purchase orders are impacted by this one. You can see it with a Gantt diagram if you want to check the different activities, and you have all the data related to this purchase order, for example. So the quantity, the amount, the price, the automation rate, the supplier, which material do you have ordered, and so on. Of course, when you are here also, you can extract the data to have the data on CSV, but you can also extract the process into BPMN directly to create a diagram in the other iGrafx module. So this is the first use case regarding the cycle time. What we can do also with the tool is we can easily do some benchmark between the dimensions. So for example, what we can do, if I select the bubble chart, we can select and do a benchmark to see the average duration for each country. So for example, we can see that for Germany, the average duration is 1 week and 5 days compared to Sweden, what we just have seen previously. It's 2 weeks and 1 day. So if we want to do that by ordering department, we can see that this is the ordering department F, which have the highest average duration. So let's focus on this specific ordering department. So for this one, we can see that we have more than 200 different variants, but we can see that the most frequent path for this specific ordering department is the variant 2. So what we can do is still the same, we can filter on it and try to analyze where are the bottlenecks. So here we can see that there is maybe some bottlenecks in this way. So from the purchase requisition to the purchase order and send the supplier, the purchase order to the supplier. Maybe there is some bottleneck and some issue in the approval workflow and in the program to convert maybe automatically the purchase requisition into a purchase order. So still the same, here we analyze the global P2P process, but what we can do also is if we have identified a specific issue for the approval workflow, we can do some deep dive analysis, add some other specific step for the approval workflow, and really analyze what happened for this specific approval workflow for this case, for example. We can also, if we want, okay, this is this ordering department, still the same. We can switch if we want for the supplier, for example, to check which supplier is mainly impacted by this kind of approval workflow issue. So this was two use cases regarding the cycle time. What we can do, we can also change the metrics, and if we want, for example, analyze the automation of our processes. So to do that, we can, as you see, switch the metrics directly in the process graph and check the average automation rate for each task directly. We can do exactly the same, of course, with the variant. So same if I select the top variant, we can switch here to automation. And we can compare the automation rate of the different variants. We can have also this view directly for the metrics, and still the same, we can perform easily some benchmarks. So for example, check the average automation rate by entity. If we do that, we will see that London, for example, has a low automation rate compared to all other entities. So by doing this kind of benchmark, we'll be able to check, for example, what happened in Oxford and Manchester, and try to do the same thing in London to be able to increase the automation rate. If you go back to the variant, you can see that, for example, the variant 1 has a really high level of automation. So we can directly see the automation rate for each task for this specific variant. But if we check, for example, the variant 3, which has a really low automation rate compared to the other, we'll be able to see that for this one, you can see the average automation rate for each task is really low. So this is the first thing that we can see with this variant. Another thing that we can see, it seems that there is a conformance issue, or what we call a maverick buying, because you can see that just after the selection of supplier, we go directly to the create purchase order step. So it means that we do not go through purchase requisition before to create the purchase order. So by doing that, there is some risk to not choose the existing contract, or maybe to not choose the good price or something like that. So it's what we call a maverick buying, and with this kind of tool, we can easily detect this kind of comportment, and we can, of course, try to improve that. What we will see also, it's for this one, we pay the invoice too early. So here I have created 3 different tasks. So pay too early, pay on time, or pay too late. Pay too early, it means that we have paid the invoice too early compared to the due date, and there is no discount associated. So it's really a loss of cash flow, the loss of working capital. So if I filter on it, still the same thing. I can switch to the metric to see, for example, the total amount impacted for this paid too early issue. So we can see that there is 2.4 million euros impacted by that. It means that we can really optimize the cash flow of the company by paying on time the supplier. If I go back quickly to the dashboard, it's corresponding to this graph. But it's quite a good news. For this company, we can see that the number of purchase order and the number of invoice paid too early is really decreasing since the beginning of the year. So it seems that some action has been taken to reduce this kind of issue and to reduce the working capital impact. Now, if you want to analyze the rework, what we can do, so with the tool, we can easily apply some filter. So as I showed previously, you can directly apply some filter based on the metrics, dimension, and directly the variant, for example. But you can also use this button to analyze, for example, to apply a filter on rework, for example. So the first case I will show, if I select a rework greater than 1 for cases, it means that I will display all the purchase order for which there is at least 1 rework. So for all the tasks. If I click here, we can see that we have 3% of purchase order with rework. And the most common variant for this one is the variant 9 here, for example. We can change the metrics to frequency to see easily for which task we have some rework. So for this example, we can see that after the creation of purchase order, of course, we send the purchase order to the supplier. But after that, we can see that we have update the quantity of the PO. So we have to send again the updated purchase order to the supplier. So we lose some time, and of course we lose some productivities, and the cost of the PO is higher for this case. What we can see also, it's for the paid on time task, we can have some rework. So we can see here the rework, so the link pay on time to pay on time, and it can really cause a huge issue because it means that we have paid 2 times the supplier for the same invoice and for the same purchase order. So now what we want to do is to focus on rework, but only for this specific task. So for that, it's quite easy. Instead of select all process cases, we can apply the filter for the specific task. So you have to select the specific task, so paid on time, and validate. And here we'll display only the purchase order for which we have a duplicate payments. So less than 1%, but it represents more than 200 purchase order. And still the same, what we can do, we can analyze, we can see the total amount for this year, for example. For this year, we can see it represents more than 100k euros. So it can be a big impact. And still the same, we can aggregate the data for whatever we want. So for the country, we can see that mainly Germany and UK impacted by this kind of double payment issue. So same thing, if we want to improve and reduce this one, we will focus on these 2 specific countries and try to understand what happens. We can also, of course, check that by supplier, and we can see that there is 5 supplier for which there is a lot of duplicate payments. So maybe check also with this supplier if there is some issue, some collaboration issue, for example. So as I show with the mining tool, we can analyze the past of the process to be able to optimize it for the future. But basically, we can also use it for your day-by-day job. So the ordering officer and the procurement team can really use this tool to be able to select the best supplier for specific item, for example. And they can use the tool to see if the supplier deliver the goods really quickly, or if it's always late or something like that. So they can use this data to be able to leverage the contract negotiation afterwards. So for example, just to show you, if here I select item 26, so we'll do a focus on it. So we can see that more than 500 purchase order for this specific item. What we can do is we can have a look of all the suppliers. So we can see that there is 9 different suppliers in this case, and we can do a benchmark for this supplier. So for example, we can see that this supplier has the average duration really low compared to the other. Here we can change the metric if we want. And now what is interesting is the unit price. And now we can see that this supplier delivers quickly, but you can see that the price is really high compared to the other. So it will help also the ordering department and the procurement team to choose the best supplier depending of what they want, be delivered quickly or have a low price, for example. And that's it for the demo. Now I will just show you quickly one slide for case study. So a few months ago, I have performed a project for a French food manufacturer company. So it was a really small company, 100 people. Just to give you an idea, the project takes 7 days for me. So to visit the customer, to extract the data, to transform the data, and to make the analysis. So you can see we can do this kind of analysis very, very quickly. And this is the summary of all the findings. So the first use case concerns the rework or the order change. So for this one, there is more than 2,000 updates per month. and the ordering officer lose 60% of their time to update the purchase order and call the supplier and collaborate with the supplier. And we have analyzed also that the delivery time has been extended by 2 weeks when we make some modification on the order. The second use case was the contract usage and maverick buying. So for 4 product family in specific, the contract was not used, or sometimes was used but not up to date. So the margin was reduced by 21% on average for this specific product family. So it was quite huge. A use case also for the early payment. So for this company, the procurement team has negotiated some really good payment term, but we have analyzed that the payment term between the contract, the PO, and what the finance team know was not the same. So that's why we have detected that half of the invoice, half of the purchase order was paid really too early. So the amount was 4.6 million euros for 6 months. So for this small company, it was a really huge impact. So to optimize the working capital, what we have do is make sure that the payment term in the contract, in the purchase order, and from finance team was the same, because of course the IT system used by finance and logistics team was not the same, so the data was not up to date between the different systems. In the other way, when I have performed this analysis, some invoice was still not paid, whereas the due date was passed. And what can be critical, what's critical for this company, it's all this unpaid order concern the top supplier. So it's not really good to have this kind of supplier relation with your top supplier, and of course you can have some penalties around that. One other use case regarding the payment term, so 20% of the order was managed via what we call pro forma in France. It means that you have to pay the supplier before it send you the goods. So of course there is an impact on the cash flow, and we will see that there is a big impact also on the delivery time, because it was extended by 1 month. And we have make also a lot of item and supplier analysis. So I just showed previously, and as a result, if we consolidate the purchases, we can cut the cost by a factor of 2 and cut the lead time by a factor of 3. So the tool is now really using by the procurement and the ordering team to be able to choose the right supplier. So you can see there is a lot of potential area for improvement. So the productivity, the customer satisfaction, the margin, the working capital, and the supplier relationship. So help for decision support, for negotiation, and some other. Yeah. So that's it for this case study. And I think, yes, this is now the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Hugo. This was really, really interesting. We have already a lot of questions in the chat. Yes, and I will need your support, Hugo, as an expert of iGrafx, to answer some of those. But if people still if you have any questions, please add them to the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. So to answer the questions that were answered in the meanwhile, if you want to receive this presentation, you need to mail Gemma. So just check the answers Q&As. She put her email address where you need to send her a request. Then we had a question also from Monsieur who got answered as well. So how this tool can really help a procurement to become strategic or a strategic player. That refers probably to what I was saying at the beginning, that procurement is usually an ad hoc function trying to support the business. And Gemma has answered also in the chat. Just to add on this, I think that the more we can provide data to the business to show that actually process mining can support them. So come to the business with data, and then usually they listen. Come to the business with just slide decks based on some assumptions. They might not listen. So usually data speaks to everyone. If you're able to say that, I don't know, 20% of your invoices are not paid on time, and then you need to pay some additional fees or fines to the suppliers, and you're able to then detect those fines, then you get very quickly your ROI. If we go to the more specific questions that were not yet answered, the first one, I think that's to you, Hugo, or to anyone at iGrafx. Do you clean and standardize the log files, or is it the customer who should do this?
Also, on our side, of course, we can do it on our side because we have some professional services team to be able to do that. So to extract the data, to clean the data, and to transform the data to be able to upload it directly. But what we do usually, we do that with our partner. So we leverage our partner like you, OJC, to be able to do this job for the customer. Yeah.
Okay. Then we had a second question, which was actually raised when you were presenting, Hugo. So how does the tool name the process step? How do you actually name the process step? Is it something that you name it yourself? You take it from the current client system?
So we have several ways to do that. So of course we can keep the name from the client IT system. We can decide to rename it when we transform the data, and we have some features inside the tool, what we call tag management. It means that we can rename it. For example, if in your company there is some French, English, or I don't know, Japanese guys, for example, you will be able to apply this tag management to have a different name of your task. So different way to name it and rename it if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then we have a follow-up question. We can take it together, Hugo, or maybe you can take it yourself. So how does this tool, allow me to quickly identify process gaps or shortcomings? I think you can answer that one. And then how we can actually make a change to improve this. I can take that one.
So the first one, can you please repeat, Cathy?
So how iGrafx process mining solution can allow me to identify process gaps? So how actually you present the process gaps to the clients.
Yeah, okay. So I have not shown in this example the conformance analysis features, but what we can do with the tool is we can easily compare what we call the standard model. So we can import a BPMN file which contains the standard model, and perform a conformance analysis. So it means we will be able to identify automatically the gap between the standard model and the reality of the execution. And we can, of course, do the same to do some benchmark between entities. For example, if we want to compare two entities, we can take as a reference one entity and do conformance analysis for these specific entities. So yeah, we have also some features for the conformance analysis. If you need more information regarding the tool, you can send me a mail and we'll organize a specific demo to handle this kind of features.
Yeah. And I will answer then at the end of the question, then how can we make a change very quickly in our solution as a customer to improve this process? Well, it depends what tool you have. So that will be my kind of like very vague answer. We at OJC can support any procurement solutions that clients have. Some are more rigid than others. So that means that some solutions might require actually to go back to your solution provider and request some changes within the solution. Some solutions are more flexible and they just require configuration. So this heavily depends on which solution you are using in your P2P system or in your P2P environment. So we can talk about solutions like Evalua, Basware, Ariba, Zycus. We can talk about GP. So that very much depends. We can tackle any of those solutions. So, again here, send me or Christian, including Hugo, a mail, and we will look into it and we will tell you how easily it is done. Then can we identify the process performance detail by individual user or group of users?
Yes, so as I shown the demo, you can include any dimension and metrics that you want. So basically, when we do that for a customer, of course, we include also which role or which people has performed each task. So then we can do some analysis regarding that. So we can add all the dimension and metrics that we want. So basically, the role and the username, it's one of the dimensions that we add basically for when we do a project for a customer. Yeah.
Then the following question, I think that's if I understand it correctly. So the time study you shared, did you do an iGrafx and process mining implementation in the 2 weeks? So I think it's on the time schedule, Hugo. Like how long does it take to actually analyze, like check the data? Let's talk about the corrective action because I answered that. It depends on the solution that you have today.
Yeah, so the case studies that I showed was based on Sage and Cegid, so as a system IT, and I pass in total on my side 7 days, so 7 days of work to visit the customer, extract the data, transform it, and perform the analysis. And totally, it's taken 1 month, because there is some. I asked something to the customer IT, wait maybe 2 or 3 days, and send me back the file, and so there is some lead time, but yeah, in total 1 month and 7 days of professional services from my side. Yeah.
Then we have a follow-up question. So for transactional buyers sitting in a production plan, how often, in your opinion, they should use this tool? So is it a tool that actually production like buyers should be using, or is it a one-time check of the process?
Both. So as I showed on the demo, of course, the process owner of the process and the responsible of all organization will use the tool to better understand what happened and to be able to optimize the process for their own entity. But of course, the ordering officer can also use to follow, for example, all the purchase order in progress for a specific item or for a specific supplier or something like that. So we can use the tool in both ways. And of course, we have some capabilities to have the data in real time. So in real time, the ordering officer can follow directly all the orders in progress. And we can also do some predictive analysis. A lot of other things to show into the tool, but yeah, the demo was short today. Yeah.
Then we have the follow-up question, which actually to OJC. So do we use other data mining tools like Signavia for SAP, and did we use iGrafx tool for SAP ERP? So I will answer that question. So the OJC iGrafx partnerships or alliance started in May this year. And we at OJC, we are a strong partner of Ivalua. We also partner with GP. So those are our core partners. So what we are doing right now is that we are doing proof of concepts on Ivalua, mainly because we know how Ivalua is structured. What I would say is that there is also a lot of knowledge within our company through our consultants and directors on SAP systems and Ariba, for example, and Basware as well, and many other, source-to-pay solutions. So at the end of the day, the processes and the bottlenecks might end up being the same. The only thing there is the corrective actions. How easy it is to take the corrective actions when you have identified the bottlenecks. So we haven't done as such today anything on SAP itself, but whether we think it's impossible, no, we can do it. We will discover probably the same patterns that we discover in any other S2P solution.
If I
Yes,
complete the answer, on our side we have performed some analysis for with SAP, of course. So for P2P, for order to cash, for all the standard processes, we just have to retrieve the data in the correct table. So for example, for P2P, I know that it's IKKO table, IKPO table, then you retrieve all the history for all the object, you extract the data, and then you can do process mining analysis. So of course, for SAP, basically we use Signavio because it's a tool hosted by SAP, but of course you can do some process analysis with iGrafx for SAP IT system, and we do it,
Yeah. So again, we are focusing here on the P2P. We also can focus on S2P, so source to pay as a total, but then process mining is also across all the IT solutions. So you can focus on your CRM system, you can focus on anything from SAP, finance, etc. So again, the focus here is on P2P, but process mining can be used everywhere in across your company. Thank you, Hugo. And then we have the final question. To whom do you talk if you need to extract data from the system? My experience is that getting the data is almost the hardest step. It doesn't matter whether you are internal or external. So Hugo, how do you get the data?
Yeah, so depending of the solution at first, because for example, the project we made together with Evalua, we know that it's quite easy to retrieve the data. We just have to run some SQL requests to extract the data, and it's okay. So basically, to do a process mining project, we have to speak, of course, with business, but also with IT team, because this is the IT team of the customer, which allow us to extract the data from their system. So of course, both IT and the business team has to be involved in the customer side. Yeah.
And I think that's basically it. And amazingly, are we really on time? I think we are. We still have 2 minutes. So if somebody is shooting one question, we still have time. Otherwise, I think we have covered the whole topic. Maybe what I would say is that feel really free to reach out through LinkedIn. So we are available. We are answering our messages or private messages on LinkedIn. You can also send an email if that feels more comfortable for you. I think that if you haven't discovered yet what process mining can offer to your organization, it's worth giving it a try because it's a very powerful tool that also helps you to save money regarding consultancy. So we are here to help together with iGrafx. Again, thank you very much for joining this webinar.